changed to such a degree, I cannot say. During an earlier period of my active life, I knew you had to inform the police. It wasn't a question of getting permission from. Whether that has changed, I cannot say. The people who are more up to date on the legal matters could answer that. But if we have come to a situation where citizens must get permission for a protest, I view that as a gross violation of the human rights of the citizens of this country.
Do you feel that you are acting sort of on behalf of many people in this nation, or do you think that you are crying out on your own that there may not be a great deal of sympathy, or do you think that what you are doing in fact represents a majority of the population?
There's a great deal of fear of expression in this population. It has been something that has bothered me all my active political life. I do not understand how in this country there can be so many, violations of people's rights and freedoms. I don't understand how, let's take for example, this matter of the local government reform that is going on. That local government reform abolishes local government. And our people do not seem to understand that that, albeit weak expression of democracy, is being taken away.
We are going to have to hold it right there. We'll be back, Mr. Myers, and we'll be talking about his concerns about local government reform and the property tax legislation in particular when we come back from this break. Good morning and welcome back to Gayelle, the channel. I'm Cock-a-doodle-doo, talking to Lincoln Myers this morning. We are going to be taking a few of your calls in a few minutes' time, 628-3035, as you know. You were speaking about local government reform, but before you got there, I just wanted to raise an issue that was a statement made by the Information Minister, Neil Parsonal, in his contribution to the debate on Monday night. He suggested that if the police had given David Abdullah a fight-on to hurry slap, then perhaps he would not have been sleeping in the public gallery. What do you say to that?
Well, if that had been said, I mean, I haven't heard it myself, but if that had been said, that tells you that that particular person ought not even to have been able to set foot in Parliament. I mean, can you imagine, for example, if he was a member of that riot squad, what would be happening outside? A member of Parliament is standing within the nation's Parliament and talking about 2 hurry slaps for someone protesting. I mean, that to me is gross. That is violence. That sort of person, I think, is unfit for Parliament, frankly.
If that is the attitude of the executive, then, and if in fact he is betraying government policy in any way, is he condoning and authorizing police heavy-handedness?
Well, I don't think he can, but there is a general position, I think, that the government feels itself invincible. From the Prime Minister on down, they feel invincible. They do not see any meaningful, traditional political challenge. And therefore, they feel they want property tax, they must have the property tax. Whatever gross violations come out of the Off Commission, the Prime Minister is embracing, the main offender, if you will, or potential offender. If you look, for example, you remember a few years ago, there was a situation down in San Fernando where the head of the public service in the San Fernando Borough Corporation was concerned, the CEO, was concerned about violations in terms of putting up buildings there that did not meet the requirements or did not get the permission from the borough to do certain things. And the central government has just ridden roughshod over that and so many other things. And that is coming from a sense of invincibility, in a government. Now, mark you, we are in a situation in this country where, although they have the majority in Parliament, they did not get the majority of vote. They are not acting
on behalf of the majority of the electorate.
Exactly.
Mr. Myers, we're going to take a very quick call as well. Hi, good morning, caller.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning to you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning to your guests. You know, I remember Mr. Myers being a part of a government that locked my neck, pushing hand in my pocket, and taking away 10% of my salary. At the time, that represented $300 per month to me. Multiply that by 12, $3,600. In addition to that, he threw alcohol on it, VAT, to really burn me. And today, Mr. Myers, with more guns than a calabash, is protesting against the property tax, which to me is lollipop. Because even up to today, my salary is depressed. Because during the period in which Mr. Myers had power in this country, I got no increase. I got 0 on every occasion that my union had any negotiations with his government. 0 for the entire period. Even today, my salary is depressed and pauperized because of that action. Just locking my neck and taking my 10%. And
all right, caller.
He protesting property tax.
Good. Thank you, caller. Mr. Myers, how do you respond to that? No. That the NAR government was a callous government. You had to dip into public servants' pockets, take 10% away from them?
Well, I have no problem in responding to that. The gentleman must understand that the previous government, which he might have been a supporter of, I don't know, ran this country into the ground, broke after the first oil boom. He must also understand that before any 10% was levied against the population, the MPs of government took that cut first, contrary to what has happened within this government, where they have successively increased their salaries. So that, the question of VAT also was not a situation or a tax that added any further burden. What the previous government did, and they are master of it, they had a lot of hidden taxes all over the bureaucracy, all over the government. The VAT was simply a compilation of all those taxes and averaging it. So at the particular point in time, it was simply to be a tax, that we might describe as revenue neutral. So all this, if you will, old talk about, heavy taxes and VAT under the NAR is pure hogwash. What happened, people were able to see the level of taxes for the first time. They did not understand that in certain areas, taxes were, 80, 90% of the value of the good that they were
getting.
But
this has reminded us that you are fully aware of what it is like as a member of government to implement an unpopular tax, that you know what it is like. Don't you think that this is a similar reaction that you would have received to implementing an unpopular tax? What is your exact opposition to the property tax?
You have to remember that this government is in receipt of and has been in receipt of hundreds of billions of dollars. They have misspent, misprioritized. I listened to the debate and there was a lot of talk about all the various subsidies, for example, that is provided. We must do that to some extent, but this, if we take the last caller, for example, what is his position after all this money, after all the inflation that has crippled his salary? The government, in its spending program, drove inflation in a direction that has crippled him and a lot of others. He probably doesn't see or understand that. But how does he feel, for example, when he goes to the Port of Spain General Hospital or the San Fernando General Hospital? Or where does he get water, if he gets any, in a situation where there has been adequate, ample, large sums of money available to the government, which has not been available to any other government.